everybody, and welcome back to the KK Zone. As always, I am Kara Kaufman, and I am coming at you today on Sunday, March 21st. The only thing notable about that date is that it's one day closer to opening day, April 1st. We are getting there, people! Yeah! So I watched the part of the Yankees game today. I was listening to part, watching part. They played the Blue Jays, and coming in, I had been thinking I might have to talk a little about how the Yankees' offense has been weirdly quiet this spring training. And then today they came out and had 12 hits, scored 8 runs, and looked like a run-producing machine, including 4 in the first inning. So that was all a bunch of regulars driving those in. So not to worry, spring training small sample size noise at work again. Looks like the bats are in working order. But I think the most exciting thing about today's game was it was a Gerrit Cole start, and it was against pretty much most of the Blue Jays starting lineup. And they're going to have a pretty good lineup this year. They've got some real hitters. George Springer's in there, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. It's going to be a lot of really good young bats. And Gerrit Cole looked his sharpest of the spring. He went 5 full innings, threw 78 pitches, which was right about what they wanted. Today, they're building him up, so today was 75 to 80, 78, right in the sweet spot. And he only allowed 4 hits and 1 earned run on a solo homer. But I think it was Randal Grichuk, who always seems to get us, that guy. But more importantly, Cole struck out 8. He looked really sharp, especially in the second, third, and fourth innings. In the first inning, he was warming up a bit, took a moment to get into his groove, and the last inning seemed like maybe he was tiring a smidge. But overall, fantastic effort from Gerrit Cole. You love to see it. So that was exciting today. And the game today was on MLB TV, and the commentators were the Blue Jays team. And spring training is kind of the only time of year that I really hear other broadcast teams, with the exception of national games, in which case the commentators are presumably equally well versed on both teams. But it's pretty rare during a season that I would hear the Blue Jays specific commentator team, and it was a good reminder of the optimism and joy of spring training. Because as I said, the Blue Jays project to be quite good. Most projection systems have them finishing second to the Yankees in the American League East, but I don't see them finishing any worse than third, depending upon what the Rays do. The Red Sox could be a wild card in there, but ultimately the Blue Jays are going to be pretty darn good. But listening to today's broadcast from the Blue Jays' perspective, you would think that team is on a fast track to the World Series. And no shade, because they're going to be good and you have to have optimism in spring. Goodness, you're going to have hope now. When will you have hope? And certainly the Blue Jays are many people's pick to be a fun surprise. They're certainly a team on the upswing. But I just loved hearing the intense positivity coming out of the commentators. Again, expected, but really fun to hear, since that's something I would generally listen to a Yankees broadcast. In other Yankees-specific news this week, Governor Cuomo, while taking a break from dealing with all of his other problems, announced that outdoor sports can now have a capacity of up to 20%. That's an increase from the previously announced 10%, and means at Yankee Stadium they'll be able to welcome just under 10,000 fans as soon as opening day, April 1st. This is empirically good news. This is great. The players have all stated how much they're excited to have fans back in the stands, what a difference it makes. And obviously for fans, what a good moment to be able to come back to the stadium after the hell of a year we've all just had, to actually be there and cheer on the Yanks in person. And I was reading up on the rules the Yankees have put in place, and it seems like all the right things to make this as safe an environment as is possible while there's still COVID out there. It's contactless everything, it is pod distanced seating, it is masks required, it is temperature checks, and proof of a negative COVID test or a vaccine. So if you're going to Yankee Stadium, be sure to check out those rules. They're all on the website to be easily found. And also, make sure you follow those rules. I'm excited once I get vaccinated to get myself out there. Can't wait to go to the stadium again. And it's lovely for the whole organization, as well as for all the fans in New York, that as of opening day, there'll be 20% of the stadium full. Something to look forward to. I can't wait to hear actual crowd noise again. Yay! And we have some small roster updates. Still not a ton of enlightenment about the actual roster construction of the 26-man that will go north with the team on opening day, but we did learn a couple things. First of all, Adam Warren, who I was a little surprised last time had been sent down to the minor league camp, turns out he had shoulder soreness. So that actually makes a lot more sense now. It wasn't that they decided they didn't want him, it was that he's going to have to take a moment to recover from shoulder soreness. Wasn't going to be able to make the opening day roster anyway because of the recovery, so they sent him down to minor league camp. This makes sense to me. And then on Thursday evening, the Yankees announced a series of further roster assignments. They signed a couple of 40-man guys to AAA, which I think we can infer means they're not going to make the big league roster. And those guys are Albert Abreu, who, hey, I guess this means he does have that fourth option year after all, which is great news for the Yanks if that's the case, because they can bring him up and down as part of that Scranton shuttle the pitchers are going to ride, and that'll be really helpful for them in terms of bullpen flexibility. Also, Thairo Estrada, saw that coming a bit. It really seems like Tyler Wade has the inside track on that backup utility infielder job. He's got a little more defensive chops than Estrada. Perhaps not a lot of offensive chops, but this spring certainly he's been totally fine. Then of course today Thairo went ahead and homered in the game. 3-run homer to really put the game away for the Yanks, so that's baseball. And then we had Mike Ford option down, which yeah, I mean, he has an option that does make sense. The Yankees don't really need to carry an extra first base only type. And if they were to do that, then Jay Bruce is A, more established big leaguer than Mike Ford, B, can't go to the minor leagues without being released, so you would lose him if he weren't on the roster, and C, can at least fake it, if not play decently, in the corner outfield positions, which Mike Ford cannot. I do think we'll see Mike Ford this year, but not seeing him at the very beginning of camp. This makes good sense to me. And Brooks Kriske is the last member of that group, so that makes sense to me too. He needs a little more time in the minors as well. So those 4 guys were optioned to AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre. That season does start a little bit delayed this year, so they'll stay in Tampa for a bit or they'll be at the alternate site, which is where those AAA guys are going to be. So they will be available for call-up should the need arise early in the season. And that is the roster news for the day. And now for a few fun things. So we've got, first of all, MLB is trying to do a better job of having some more fun, exciting social media components to make fans invested in these amazing players and in the product. And the way that manifested this past week was they had this really cool new camera angle in which they basically jog out to the field position with a defender. And they've picked the cool guys to do that with. I mean, they did it with Mike Trout, obviously an incredible player. We all love Mike Trout. They did it with Acuna Jr., a rising star. They did it with our very own Gleyber Torres. Here's a screenshot from that. It's basically as though you are jogging along out to shortstop right behind young Gleyber. That view just from the shortstop position of the stands is really neat and not something you get to see very often. So I love this. More of this, please. More miking up players, more GoPros, I don't know, just cool stuff that gives fans a different angle and makes you feel even more engaged in the game. How is that bad? It's not. Do more. We love it. Another great thing from MLB's Twitter this week is this pair of photos. This is just, how do you not love baseball when you see this? This is Vladimir Guerrero with a young Miguel Cabrera, the great passing on a handshake and some wisdom to the young prodigy. And then the next is a now veteran himself, Miguel Cabrera, with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Vlad Guerrero's son, who's now an up-and-coming star for the Blue Jays, doing the exact same thing. This is just the perfect kind of chain that we love to see. Generations, baseball families, passing down wisdom, interacting with the young and up-and-comers. We love this. This made me smile, and what a cool side-by-side set of photos to grace the social media of MLB this week. Well done. And in another example of baseball is a game for families and generations, this week, Jack Leiter, who is a pitcher for Vanderbilt and the son of course, former Yankee and also former Marlin, Met, and Blue Jay Al Leiter, threw a no-hitter. Yeah, that's right. Jack Leiter threw a no-hitter with 16 strikeouts, no less, for Vanderbilt this week. Unbelievable moment for that kid. So cool. He was projected to be a top draft pick, and that has not changed. If anything, he's moved himself up in the running. He's a possible #1 pick. I know Kumar Rocker, another Vanderbilt guy. They share a rotation, and they could easily go 1-2 in the draft this year. So cool. There's so much young talent out there. But what a moment. Al Leiter threw a no-hitter himself back in the day, and now watching his son do it, I mean, unbelievable. Also, talent clearly runs in that family, so my goodness, watch out for anyone named Leiter. They will just pitch you into oblivion, clearly. But I'm loving that, and I'm sad the Yankees aren't going to have a high enough pick to get either of those guys, because what incredible electric talent Vanderbilt has on their roster. But again, it's just watching the father watch the son and have that reaction to him with this great, incredible achievement. It's heartwarming, and it just makes you love the game and how much it brings people together. And last last but not least, a dispatch from the best shape of his life department. We all have heard this a million times before. Every spring, without fail, every single major league team has at least one guy who shows up in the supposed best shape of his life. It's become kind of a laughingstock, but also legitimately guys do show up in great shape. It's spring, they're remotivated, they've had the off season to change their diet, change their workout regimen, change their who knows what, whatever it is, it helps them get in this incredible shape. Sometimes it has tangible on-field effects, sometimes not so much, but inevitably people come in that shape. Well, today's entry is a little different because somebody is in the best shape of his life, and it's not a player. It is Gleyber Torres' father. Take a look at this. Just casually going to hit the gym with all those muscles? My goodness, very impressive, sir. And hey, we know Gleyber had to mix up his diet and workout regimen this offseason to get himself in the best shape of his life. Well, it looks like he had some inspiration close to home in his dad. Well done, Dad. We appreciate your helping Gleyber get himself in great shape as well. So that will do it for today. The Yankees finished this week 13-6 in spring training play. They are a mere game behind the Miami Marlins for the Grapefruit League crown. Go get it, guys! Winning spring training is clearly very important. It's not important, but it's fun. And the most important thing is that people seem to be playing well, they seem to be happy, and they're mostly healthy. We didn't have a Whiteboard of Doom update this week, but shh, I don't want to jinx it. So I will leave you today with this quote from Meredith Willson, who wrote the lyrics for The Music Man, classic musical. And the quote is this: "Pick a little, talk a little." At this point, that is what I feel as though I am doing. I'm picking up stories and talking about them, and they're mostly little because there's not a great deal of huge news happening at this point in spring training. But it is always fun to notice little things and chat about them with all of you. So I will keep on doing that, and every day we inch closer to regular season games that count. I absolutely cannot wait. I'm going to be preparing my opening day menu to sit here and watch at home with great excitement and lots of Yankees gear. I hope you'll join me, virtually of course. And until the next time, as always, go Yanks.